Welcome to Quality Branding Hub. The channel is for the quality control engineer, site engineer, and the civil engineer who are working in the construction field. In this channel, we are dealing with anything and everything which is required to get success in the construction. So today, what is the subject? It's subject about the tiling work. Rather, it's a tiling joint. We are providing joints in the tiles. So, what are the different types of joint? Why you need to provide the joint? What is the IS code specification? What is the joint width? And what is the best practice? In today's video, I will discuss each and everything. So stay tuned until then to get the full information. And if you are new in my channel, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. Let's jump into
So,
the subject, that is tiling joint. Now, first we need to know what is the tiling joint. Now, what are the called tiling joint? The tile joints are intentional gaps or separation left between the tiles during installation. So, the gap in between two tiles is called the tiling joint. These joints are later filled with grout to accommodate dimensional variation, expansion contractor contractions, and the installation tolerance. So it is a gap we are providing in between the tiles. Maybe it's in the x direction, maybe in the y direction, or maybe the both x y direction. So this intentional gap what we are providing in between two joints or two tiles, that called the tiling joint. So why you are providing? To accommodate dimensional variation. See, the tiles whatever we are getting is not exactly the shape or the size. There is always a dimensional tolerance as per IS 15622. So minimize that dimensional tolerance. We are providing the gap, then expansion and contraction, and the installation tolerance. So these are about why, what are the tiling joint. Now next is, what is the IS code? Because whenever we are working in India, we need to follow the IS code. The IS code is IS 15622 2017. That is a ceramic tile specification. It has given clear direction to what called ceramic tiles, what is called vitrified tiles there in IS 15622. I have made a detailed video on that. Please, link is description. Please check. You will get the full information. And another IS code you need to follow, that is IS 15477. That is adhesive for ceramic tiles of the guidelines, because nowadays we are all using the tiles adhesive. We are not using the mortar. So there are different types of adhesive for the different types of substrate and the different types of tiles and the sizes. So what are the tiles adhesive you need to use, that you need to choose before the installation. So I have also made a detailed video on that. Please go into the description. You will find a link about the time glue. So you will get the full information about this. So these are the relevant IS code you need to follow whenever
adhesive.
you are.
The
The next part is why tile joints are necessary. Now, it is important to know that whether this tile joint, whatever we are doing, is required or not. That question is arising in my mind. So here it is. You need to know that why these tile joints are necessary. First is accommodate thermal expansion. Now, whatever the tiles or what the material you're using in construction, both all the have their thermal expansion properties. No, so during the hot or during the cold, either they will expand or they will contract. Now, whether this thermal expansion or contraction is happening, what is happening? Stress is generating, and due to this stress, this is become intolerable, and there can be breaks of the tiles, or tiles can be damaged. So tile expand and contract due to temperature without joints. It may lead to buckling or pop. So what is happening? It if not providing, it will pop up or it will break. So that is why it is important to provide the joint to make the accommodate the thermal expansion. The next is absorb tile size variation. See, the tiles, whatever the tiles we are getting from the manufacturers, IS code has given the guidelines for the tolerance. Now, this tolerance is sometimes may become a problem, because you need to lay the tiles on exactly in same line and the same level. So if there is a variation or a little variation, that is also sometimes it look ugly. So that tiles the variation size, to absorb that one, we need to provide the tiles joint. The tiles are minor dimensional variation due to manufacturing tolerance. Joints help in aligning such differences. So if the minor tolerance difference, if you are not providing the tiling joint, it will looks ugly. So that is why also you need to provide the tiles joints. Then prevent stress cracks. Now, tile joint distributed stress and prevent surface cracks due to structural movement. Now, there is always a structural movement is there, and there is a stress and there is a strain is also generating. So, how this will absorb if there is no joint? This can be a crack and this can be a tiles can be damaged. So, that is also prevents stress cracks. Then, aesthetic uniformity. Now, it's a very much important point because the tiles is the finishing item. After that we are not doing anything. Now it if it is not aesthetically good or aesthetically it's a viable, so what is happening, it looks ununiformity. So that is why we need to provide the tiles joint. Grouted joints give a clean uniform appearance and prevent dust accumulation between tiles. So that is also given the aesthetic looks as well as the maintenance purpose also, because it is not accumulated the dust. And then water resistance. Now this is a very important part because every tiles has the water absorption capacity, and according to the water absorption capacity there are different types of soil as per IS 15622. So water resistance is the key for the tiling. So properly grouted joints prevent seepage beneath tiles in wet areas like bathroom and kitchen. So if there is a water tightness or water resistance, so there will be your structural slab will be in safe, or there will be no seepage from the upper floor to the lower floor. So that is why also tile joint is important. And now, what are the different types of tile joints? There are different types of joint we are using in the construction. So that now we need to know for the whatever we have already covered. That is what is tile joints, what is the relevant I code, and why tile joints are important. Now, types of tile joints in the construction. Butt joint or the zero joint. So what is that? That means there is no gap in between the tiles. The description, tiles are laid with almost no gap and used in Polish vitrified tiles or the rectified tiles. So this Polish vitrified tile and the rectified tiles, that is also given in the IS 15622, the same video where I discussed earlier. That is all given you the all details about the tiling. So these butt joint tiles also are now easily available. So this has the minimal thermal expansion property. So that is why during heat or during cold, the expansion or contraction is very less. So that is why there is no cracking or pop-up is happening. So used in for disadvantage, not suitable for areas with temperature variation, high risk for tile pop-up or chicken. Also, what is happening if you are using the area where there is a temperature difference is more, or the high temperature or the hot area? So what is happening? The tile can be pop up due to this expansion of the property, and it is not recommended as per IS 160 for large format tiles. In the large format tiles where the dimension is more, then the expansion contraction is more, and there is chances that tile can be damaged or can be pop up. But in the small areas and the where the temperature control area where there is no temperature difference, in that area we can use the butt joint or the zero joint, sometimes called the paper joint. So these are now widely used in everywhere, wherever the vitrified tiles or any other tiles we are using. So that tile is important with the zero joint or the paper joint. The next is open joint or the standard grout joint. See, these are the one we are using in our projects or throughout the industry. That's there is the open joint, and that joint to be filled with the grout, with the maybe the cementitious grout or the epoxy grout, whatever it is. So tiles are laid with a fixed visible gaps, usually 1.5 to 5 mm, but maximum is 2 to 3 mm we are using. Later filled with grout, used in all types of ceramic vitrified tiles installation. Grouting use cementitious or epoxy grout as I discussed, that is as per IS 15477. Recommended for the most application. This is the most used joint in the tiling work because this has given the provision for providing the gap for the expansion, contraction, thermal crack, whatever is, that is all taken care in this type of standard grout joint. And how will we feel? That will be either it is a cementitious grout or it's the epoxy grout. The next is movement joint. Now, what is the movement joint? The flexible joint with elastomatic sealant to absorb building movements. Now, if the building is expanding horizontally, what is happening, or in the vertically, that the movement joint can be happen when you are we're moving, or in the stress area. So that is what is happening. Again, the stress is generating. To absorb this stress, you need to provide the movement joint or the expansion joint. So see, these are the special type of joint when we need to provide as per the structural requirement. You need to provide where is this movement joint or the expansion joint is there, and where you can use in the large areas over RCC slab, terrace tiles, and industrial floor. And the spacing it is 3 to 4 point, but as per the project specification or as per the IS 15622 or the client requirement that you can provide the joint. And every 6 to 9 meter for internal tiles areas. These are no common concept, but whatever we are suggesting, that should be as per the structural designer recommendation, where you need to provide the movement joint. And the reference we can take IS 3370 concrete structure, IS 2570 for the concrete flooring, and ISO 13007. The next is control joint. Now, what is a control joint? Narrow cut or group created to control where cracking occurs. Now, in the floor, what is happening? The large areas, the crack can generating, and what is happening, we need to absorb the cracks. How we can absorb the crack? We can cut a narrow groups, and the cracks will be inside the group and it will not visible, and that type of joint is called the control joint. So before applying the tiles, it is important to provide this control joint on the RCC base floor under tiles or in the screed before tiling. Why? It is not exactly on the tile, but it is in the substrate. Why? If the movement or if the crack is generating on the substrate, it will come eventually on the surface as well, or the tile will be damaged. So that is why that expansion or that also need to taken care in the substrate itself, providing the control joint. And based on the slab dimension and experience movement, expected movement, or the structural designer has given, will give the location of the control joint, and according to the structural engineer requirement, we need to provide the control joint at the slab. So this will also help us to prevent the cracks or in the tiles or pop up or heaving. That is also important. Then the perimeter joint. Now, what is the perimeter joint? Perimeter means wherever you are laying the tiles, surrounding the tile there is a wall, so that whenever it is in with the tiles there is a wall. Now this called the perimeter joint, and the perimeter joint also you need to treat it, or you need to properly filled, or you need to give the gap so left between wall and the floor tile to allow expansion filled with flexible sealant. It is very much important. Sometimes we are overlooking this one. Why? Because we are thinking that it is not required, but it is very much important that you should provide the perimeter joint in the tiling work, and with 8 to 10 mm typically we are using, but again it is to be decided by the structural designer. So how much the perimeter joint width should be, and used in the perimeter of room where the tiles made vertical elements, wall or column, and prevents the detachment from wall due to thermal stress. So what is happening? The tiles and the wall, there are two different material, and they will exhibit different thermal expansion. If there is no gap, there will be a cracking and the heaving of the tiles can happen. Is the structural joint or the seismic joint. So what is structural joint or the seismic joint? All the building earthquake resistance. Now, when the earthquake is happening, when the stress is generating, now we need to provide this seismic joint. And in this seismic joint, we should not fill with the tiles, or we should not minimize the gap or close the gap because structural purpose. So that is why provided where the building has expansion or the seismic separation, tiles should not bridge this joint. So we should not provide that area the tiles. So that's called the structural joint or the seismic joint. So where it can be, it should be decided by the structural engineer or the designer who are designing the building. He will give you the where you need to provide the structural joint or the seismic joint. But whenever you are working, you need to very much cautious, very much careful where you need to provide the structural joint, or where you need to keep the tiles not on that area so that it can be closes. So leave the joint open or filled with the suitable compressible material and covered with aluminum SS cover. Whatever the requirement or whatever the recommendation of structure to provide the structural joint as per the requirement. So these are all about the different types of
What
structural
is the
joint.
recommended joint width as per IS 15622?
That is, it depends on the what is the size of the tiles. The up to 300, 600 to 600. That is a large tile that can maybe 3 to 5 mm, or natural or handmade tiles that 5 or more. But again, there is a cautions that whatever the joint, that should be as per the tradition or the manufacturer recommendation. So who is the manufacturing the tiles, they will give you the details about what is the tile size or the what is the spacer size, and accordingly you need to provide and your projects. And what is the best practice for the joint? Use tile spacer during installation to maintain uniform joints. Clean joints before grouting for better bonding. Choose epoxy grout for areas prone to water, chemical, or stains. And then always follow manufacturer instruction for joint width and provide expansion joint at regular intervals in the large areas. So these are all about the best practice. And today I have already discussed about what are the tiles joint, different types of tile joint, recommendation, IS code, and why it is to be provided, and best practice. And I hope you find it useful. And if you find it useful, kindly subscribe my channel and hit the bell icon so that whenever I upload a new video, you will get immediate notification. And I'm waiting for your valuable comments so that from your comment, everybody will be benefited. And if you want to know anything more about quality control and construction, please let me know. I will come with more content like this. And thank you once again for watching me.